Welcome back to Campbell Racing. As you can see, we're going to be doing a little bit different style video today. This is going to be the first video in a series that I'm going to call How Do I? And it is where I go through my processes for certain things. This one is going to be about how I practice and approach qualifying. I have plans to do another one for restarts, for pitting, and for long run versus short run practice. And so those are all planned. Going to be doing that. If that sounds interesting to you and you want to see how I go about that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and be on the look for those. But anyway, so for qualifying, I am not the fastest qualifier. I am not a certified hot lapper, but hopefully this video will be able to help you cut down on some practice time and improve your grip position at the same time. And you won't have to put in lots and lots and lots of laps just trying to figure out what works. And so my process is I have 4 questions when it comes to qualifying. So the first question is, what lap is it? Is it a first lap or is it a second lap? Most of the time, it's going to be a second lap qualifier. But every now and then, due to tire wear and whatnot, it'll be a first lap, and you'll do everything that you knew to do on your second lap, and you're just like, why am I so far back? And then come to find out it's the first lap. So that's the first thing. Once I figure out what lap it is, a second question is, what's the line? Is it you just wrap the bottom? Is it a top line track? Is it where you go all the way out to the wall in 3 and 4? Or do you cut it and go down to the apron? You know, do you start on the apron or not? All these things are things that I consider the line that you need to run and is very important. Third is, how do I drive it? Right? I've got the line, but how do you actually go about driving that line? What do your pedal inputs look like? So that's the third question. And the fourth and final is, what times should I be trying to get? Because you don't want to go through all that process and then still be 2 seconds off pace and be surprised and have to go through everything. And so what if I were to tell you that I get the answers to all 4 of these questions before I ever put the car out on track? And that is what we're going to go over. We are going to put the car on track here, but I'm going to answer all 4 of those questions, and then and only then am I going to put the car out on track, and then we'll start iterating through the process of trying to get faster there. Next week is Darlington. It's a real tricky track for a lot of people, so I'm going to be looking at this as if it is the week for Darlington, and I'm just going to go through that process now. So we are actually going to be opening up our web browser and going to a data telemetry site, Garage 61. I am not affiliated with them or sponsored by them in any way. I do use it along with other telemetry tools as well. I've used VRS, I've used Motec, and I like all of them for various scenarios. VRS is great if you have a subscription to it and want to go with the coaching and the videos there. I do find those extremely useful, but I use Garage 61 for this, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But anyway, so open up your web browser and go to garage61.net/app. This is my overview, and I'm going to create a new analysis that is for the Next Gen Cup car at Darlington. So I'm going to click Analyze, Laps. We're going to go to Darlington. I'm going to add laps. And I'm only going to do the next gen. For the filters, I'm going to make sure that it's only qualifying. I think by default it has practice in as well. I don't recommend that you use practice because it counts practice where multiple cars are on track, and you don't want to be comparing yourself against cars that are getting the benefit of draft. So I only want qualifying, I only want fixed setup, and I only want this season, especially with the oval refresh. It's changed the way that a lot of things work, and so it's really important that you only do the current season for this. So right now there are 34 laps that we have to analyze here. I suspect when it actually does flip over to Darlington week, this number is going to go up significantly, and there will be a lot more there. But this is plenty for us to work with right now. So the things that are immediately answered are, here are the times, right? Here are the best times. So the top 10 is a 29.0. Looks like 28.699 is the fastest. The setups are available so that you know that they're not running like open setups, and you're not going to be able to get that. These actually have ghost laps that you can download and then see them in your sim, and that's useful. So another thing to note here is the information for the session, because we're actually going to need to use this. So the main thing is track temp. So 75%, 80 or degrees, sorry. 75 degrees, 82 degrees, 82, 79, 82. So we want to hit something similar to that. Lap times are very dependent on both track temp and track usage or track state. Looks like these are all clean for the most part. This is moderate, but the rest are clean. So we want to try to mimic that when we do get in session. So I'm going to go ahead and select these 5. Hit apply. And all right, so now we have our 5 comparison laps set up. So back to the first question, which lap is it? So for the first one here, just click view event, scroll down to where you see qualify, and this one is highlighted because it's the fastest and it's lap 2. Same thing here. Go down to qualify. Don't know why it has 3 laps, but it's the final lap, right? Same with this. So actually you can just look where you saw here. We'll just go back in here. So on their first lap, it's going to be a green flag. On their last lap, it's going to be a checkered flag. So you can just look real quickly. Second lap, second lap, second lap. I don't know why these don't have it, but if you go in and look at qualify, it's a middle lap. I don't understand that. But anyway, it's not his first lap, right? So I believe this one will probably be the same way. Let's go ahead and look at this. Yeah. So, all right. So we already know, without ever stepping into the sim, that it is a second lap qualifying. So next, what is the line? So let's go to analyze here. And for analyzing the line, we're only going to look at the track map. So I know there's a bunch of telemetry lines on the right. We're not even going to pay attention to the right half of the screen right now. We're only looking at the track map right here. So what I look at here, here's the start of the lap. I go in and zoom in, and it looks like every single one of them runs high in 1 and 2. So that is definitely the line in 1 and 2. But if you look in 3 and 4, there's a split, right? So you've got 3 guys running down here real low. You've got one kind of in the middle, and then one high. Now you could look over here and see, okay, so the guy that's in the middle ran the fastest. So the red line is the fastest. He's right here. Green was the slowest, and he ran high. But it may just be a driver preference kind of thing, right? So you definitely want to try out all of these different lines. I wouldn't just say, oh, well, the fastest guy ran here, so let's just run there. I wouldn't do that. But what this does show us is 1 and 2, there is no question. You've got to run the high line in 1 and 2 here. 3 and 4, there's a little bit of play, right? So one thing may be better for us than another, but there is some variability in there, so you can test it out and see what you want to do there. So now that we have those, I am going to go ahead and get out on a track. I'm skipping question 3 of how do I drive it right now, and 4 for the what times, because we already have the times. So even though I personally go ahead and look at the right side of the screen now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get out on track and just act like I forgot to do that or something like that, and then we will end up coming back to this screen. So one of the reasons that I really like this is you can just move this onto another screen or minimize it, and it keeps track of it while you're out on track. So you don't have to keep entering the sim, leaving, entering and leaving, and going back and forth. So we're just going to minimize this for right now. But do remember, I said it was, well, I forgot. So let's go. Configure. All right, 75, 82, 82, 79, 82. So we're going to shoot for about a 79 to 82 degree track temp is what we're going to be looking for here. So I'm just going to minimize that. I'm going to go into the A fixed, schedule, go down to Darlington, test drive. Now, they don't let you just select the track temp. It would be extremely useful if they did. But what I have found is if I go to just static weather, overcast, and then time of day, you put it at like sunset, the air temp and the track temp will be very, very close to each other. So I'm just going to put this up at 80 degrees, and hopefully when we get in session, it will be close to the track temp that we want. If it isn't, go ahead and back out, recreate the session, and make sure that you get a session that you like before you go ahead and start. So once this loads up, we will make sure that we got the weather that we want, and we will go from there. All right, we're in session now. Go to info. Track temp is 80 degrees, exactly what we were looking for, and we've got our setup in. So let's get out on track. And I do recommend having the session best lap up just to kind of give you a marker as you're going through. But we are just going to go and try to get our second lap, see what we can do with it here. That's important to pick a spot and know your break point. So I'm going to lift right when we're hitting those dash lines right there, because that may come into play later. You've got to have your points and know exactly where you're lifting and get back on throttle and all that. 1 and 2 isn't really important here because it's for our second lap. I'm lifting right there at those dash lines. Coming around, trying to get a good run out of 3 and 4 here. And I'm going to lift pretty early into 1 here as well.
29.326.
Lifting it on the brakes right there. Trying to run the middle. Let me go ahead and cut down here.
$29.2.
All right, we ran a 29.23, so definitely have some work to do, right? So let's go and see what that looks like in the telemetry. So just going to back out of there. Bring this back up. I'm only going to want to look at me and the fastest, so I'm just going to hide these. They're still in the analysis, but you can delete them as well. Add laps. My driving activity. The last thing I did, 29.2. Apply. So he's going to be red. I'm going to be blue. And let's go and look at it here. So as we start out, well, just to show you, so here, the red is your control. That's your fastest. That's always going to be a flat line. Anytime it's going up, anytime the blue line is moving up here, that means I'm losing time. So what this says is from here to about right here, we're even on time. I haven't lost any time, and that's like kind of the entry to 1 here, right? And so what you see is I lifted earlier than he did. So that's why it started to go up just a little bit right here. I lifted earlier than he did, but he got on the brake and I didn't. And so that allowed me to catch back up. He got on the throttle much sooner than I did. And so that's why I started losing time there. I lifted more than he did. And then we go through, and again in 3 and 4, I lifted way before he did. He keeps some throttle in it the whole time as I'm rolling through. He also gets back on the throttle before I do, but he had to lift right here, and I was able to get back to full throttle. But he had way more, so we had more exit speed, like all through 1 and 2 here, and then he had way more entry speed going into 3. So that's something that we need to work on. Our lines here, I actually went a little bit higher than he did. But in 3, I was a little higher than him. But remember, the other guys were way down here, and then you had I think it was the green that was up top. So I could probably stand to enter a little bit lower. And then I had that cut down, and you see that cut down here. So even though I entered higher than he did over here, that cut down, he definitely did not cut down. So we may be losing some time here. So that's just something to note. But the main thing that I see here is right here. He's in 4th gear most of the time. I'm in 5th. You can go see the part of the track that we're on. So the entire time through 1 and 2, he's in 4th. He goes up to 5th and then back down into 4th. And I stayed in 5th for the entire second half of the run. So let's go see what doing it in 4th gear does. So just click back. We're still in session. And here we go. So I know I need to drive it a little bit deeper at both ends of the track. And I'm going to be in 4th gear for the majority of it. It looks like he does go up into 5th on the back stretch. The front stretch, he is in 4th the entire time. And I'm not going to cut down out of 4 on that second lap here. He does go into 5th, back into 4th, and we're just now coming to our hot lap here. So he stays in 4th this entire time. So let's try that.
29.359.
All right, I hit the chip and I didn't like that, but it is faster so far, right? Go up into 5th, down into 4th. I didn't cut down. I wanted to stay on that seam, and we are a lot faster here.
28.90.
So we just went from a 29.2 to a 28.9. And we didn't even have to run more laps to do it. We just looked at the data. So one thing I'm going to run again is I was hitting the chip going into 1. I prefer the feel of 5th gear in 1, but I definitely think that downshifting into 4th is the right way to go in 3 and 4. So let's try that. We'll be coming to our hot lap here. Make sure we don't slide the tires coming out to start.
28.921.
Yeah, see, I'm much faster in 5th than I was 4th. Get that much better runoff. Come in. I'm going to downshift into 4th, though. A little bit lower. Don't want to cut all the way down or go all the way out. We're losing the time, but it doesn't matter. We're already there. And we're down to a 28.8. So let's go look and see where we can benefit now. We're going to go configure. Let's get rid of that lap. I don't need to see these anymore either. Add a lap. Go to driving activity for me. 28.83. Apply. There it goes. All right. So now it looks like going into 1, I may be driving a little deep. Well, see, I gain all that time right here, and then I lose it all back. I lose every single bit in the second half of the turn. So we're back to even. And then I gain it on the backstretch again, lose a little bit, gain a little bit. So really right here, what I need to focus on is my exit of 4. So what did I do on the exit of 4 here that cost me so much time? Looks like he was just able to get to the throttle so much faster than I was. So I drove it deeper here, not as deep here, but the main thing is, you see, I got on the throttle too early. He waited, but then when he waited, he was able to get to it a lot stronger. So instead of let me get to it earlier, let me wait just a little bit, let it rotate just a bit more, and then see what I can get. So let's try that again. .869. Let me wait. Now back on it aggressively. So much better. So much better.
28.6.
And we're down to a 6.5.
Great lap.
So how many laps is that? We have run 13 laps, which divide by 2 because we're doing the second lap, right? So we've run 6-7 laps, and we've gone from a 29.2 or 29.3 down to a 28.65. And all of that was because we were looking at the telemetry data to show us what we were doing wrong. So I'll just add the next one in. I won't delete the previous one that I did. Offline testing. 652. So he's still, as a matter of fact, let's turn his off now. So we won't show his. I'm going to move that up top. So since that's my fastest, I want the fastest to be red. And analyze selected laps. So you can see here, I ran pretty much the same line in 1 and 2. And throttle inputs, pretty much the same, right? I look like right here, I'm going through the middle just a little faster on my second run. But throttle input is basically the same here. I get back I do the lift to make sure that I'm able to turn down. We're able to go, and here on the back, I drove it in just a tad deeper, right? But here, this is the blue one. This is where I messed up. See, I got on throttle too early and then had to get back out. On this one, I made sure that I waited, was able to come up, and then drive through it much more aggressively. And you saw the runoff that it got there at the end. And so we were able to go, let's go back here, from a 29.3 down to a 28.65 in 1, 2, 3, 4 iterations. And so is a 28.65 going to get you pole? Probably not. But it's a lot better than it was, and it didn't take us 50 laps of, just trying to figure out what we were doing in order to do it. So, looks like the video's been on for 28 minutes, and I've been rambling for most of that. So I would say within 15 to 20 minutes, we were able to cut down from a 29.2 to a 28.6 at Darlington. And so I think that's pretty good. Feel confident that I'll be able to do a couple of laps, try to perfect that a little bit, probably get it down a little bit more. But that way we know we're going to be competitive, right? Another thing to do is once the splits or once the week starts, you can go in, check what split you're going to be in and see what the qualifying times are for that. It should match up with what you're seeing in Garage 61, but if it doesn't, maybe go in a ghost race and then you can see what they're qualifying there or something like that if there's something way off. But this is a really good marker, especially if you're going to practice ahead of the week, to go ahead and get a little bit of practice in, but be confident that you're practicing the right thing, right? And so within about 15 or 20 minutes, we were able to improve our time and answer the 4 main questions. So which lap is it? It is lap 2. What's the line? The line is the top in 1 and 2 and the middle in 3 and 4, but don't cut down. You want to stay on the outside to maximize that momentum. How do I drive it? I don't use any brake going into 1 and 2. He used a little bit, but it's not significant. And most importantly, you don't want to get on the throttle on the entry to 3, you downshift into 4th. In the middle of 3 and 4, don't get on the gas too early. You want to make sure that you wait, let the car rotate just enough so that when you do get on the throttle, you can do it aggressively. And what time should I try to hit? That's going to be very weather dependent, track temp dependent. But for the track temp that I got, which was 80 degrees, I was getting comparable times to this track temps of the guys running it with 79 to 82. And so I feel pretty good about that. So we got all 4 questions answered. I have a really good feeling about going into qualifying. And from that point, it's just how many laps do you want to run to kind of perfect what you've done. But with the knowledge of those 4 questions being answered, it's a much better feeling and more direct practice from here on out. So anyway, that is my approach to practicing qualifying and how I look at it for every single track that we go to. And I hope that you find some of this useful. If you've got some other tips that you find even more useful, let me know in the comments. Right? I'm not saying this is the best way. I'm saying this is my way. And I'm always looking to improve. So if you've got something you think can improve on this, then add a comment, let me know, and let's all learn together. So anyway, that will do it from here. Thanks for watching.